Amena had always dreamed of working in the heart of the city, where her career thrived. But when her parents introduced Armaan for marriage one day, her world shifted. Armaan was everything she wanted in her partner, a devout young Muslim man with similar values like hers. They got married in a short time, but Armaan's job required him to change places from time to time. Neither wanted a long-distance relationship, so she had to choose between her career and Armaan. Amena sat at her desk, the soft glow of her computer screen illuminating her face. She had written her resignation letter, and now her finger hovered over the mouse. She sighed. She was about to resign from her job. Armaan's call earlier that day echoed in her ears. His voice, filled with both excitement and apprehension, had painted a picture of a new opportunity in Dubai. It was a dream job, a chance to climb the corporate ladder at an unprecedented pace. But it also meant leaving behind everything she knew, including her promising career in Dhaka. Then, she closed her eyes and remembered the day they got married. Both of their eyes were filled with the promise of a bright future and love. Another memory surfaced when they promised to stay with each other forever. A smile appeared on her lips. It's fine as long as Armaan is with her. She could leave anything for him. Instantly, she made the decision and resigned from her post. They moved to Dubai. Together, they built a beautiful life full of love and happiness. One day, their world was turned upside down. Amena was in a terrible accident that left her completely paralyzed and confined to her bed. The once vibrant apartment now echoed with an eerie silence. Amena lay in bed, her eyes fixed on the white ceiling. Days turned into weeks, each one a monotonous blur. Armaan moved through the room like a ghost, his face etched with a mixture of love and exhaustion. He'd learned to bathe her, feed her, and change her dressings with a tender efficiency. But the sparkle in his eyes, the life that once danced in his spirit, seemed to have faded. Armaan, Amena's voice, weak and hoarse, broke the silence. He turned, his face softening. "I'm here, love." "I'm sorry," she whispered, her heart aching. "I'm a burden to you." Armaan's hand found hers, squeezing it gently. "Don't ever say that, Mimi. You are my world, my everything. This is just a phase, a test. We will get through this together." Amena smiled weakly, but she couldn't believe in his words. She knew she was a burden, a liability. Armaan sat beside Mimi, his hand gently holding hers. His voice, soft and soothing, carried the familiar tale of Prophet Ayub, peace and blessings of God be upon him. And then, after years of suffering, Allah cured Ayub, peace and blessings of God be upon him, restored his health, and blessed him abundantly. Armaan finished, his eyes filled with a hopeful gleam. Amena listened, a faint smile playing on her lips. Her heart ached with longing for a similar miracle. But the reality of her situation was a heavy weight on her chest. "Why do you tell me the same story every day, Armaan?" Her voice was barely a whisper. Armaan's grip tightened on her hand. "Because, my love, every time I tell it, I hope a piece of that hope, that faith, transfers to you. I want you to believe that just like Ayub, peace and blessings be upon him, your test will also end, and you will be restored." A tear escaped Amena's eye. She loved him for his unwavering faith, his relentless optimism. But the darkness within her was overwhelming. "What if this is my test, Armaan? What if this is how my story ends?" Her voice trembled. Armaan was silent for a moment. Then he leaned in, kissing her forehead gently. "No, my love. Your story is far from over. This is just a chapter, a difficult one, but it won't be the ending. We will find a way together." His words were like a fragile beacon of hope in the stormy sea of her despair. Mimi clung to them, even as doubt gnawed at her. In the past few days, Amena's health deteriorated. Armaan was scared to lose her. The room was shrouded in an eerie silence, broken only by the rhythmic rise and fall of Amena's chest. Armaan sat beside her, his hand gently resting on her arm. His eyes were heavy with exhaustion, but fear gnawed at his heart. Every day since the accident had been a battle, one he wasn't sure he was strong enough to fight. But he had to, for her. A sudden stillness enveloped him. Her chest stopped rising and falling. Panic surged through him as he shook her gently. "Amena, wake up." His voice was a hoarse whisper, a plea that cut through the stillness like a knife. She didn't respond. Her hand, once warm beneath his, grew cold. His world crumbled. "No, no, no." Armaan screamed her name, his voice echoing in the silent room, a desperate cry that shattered the calm. His mind raced, a whirlwind of denial and despair. He couldn't lose her, not now, not ever. Frantic, he performed CPR, his hands moving in a blur, pressing against her chest, willing her back to life. Each compression was a prayer, a plea to Allah, his heart pounding in his ears. "Come back to me, Amena. Please." Minutes felt like hours as hope began to fade, his strength waning. Tears streamed down his face as he leaned over her, his body shaking. "Amena," he whispered, his voice broken. "Please. I can't do this without you. I need you. I need you so much." Just when despair threatened to consume him, he felt it, a faint pulse. Relief washed over him like a tidal wave, a gasp escaping his lips. Her chest rose, then fell, a fragile rhythm returning. Amena's eyes fluttered open, dazed and confused, as if pulled from the brink of death. Armaan collapsed beside her, his body racked with sobs. He buried his face in her hand, tears soaking her skin. "Don't ever scare me like that again," he sobbed, the fear in his voice raw and exposed. "I thought I lost you, Amena. I thought you were gone, and I couldn't. I can't lose you. You're everything to me. I was so scared." Amena, weak but conscious, reached out and touched his face. The depth of his love hit her like a tidal wave, and for the first time since the accident, something inside her shifted. His terror, his heartbreak, laid bare before her, reignited a flame in her that had nearly been extinguished. In that moment, as she looked into his eyes, her heart filled with a profound love and admiration for the man beside her. She saw the fear, the pain, but also the unwavering devotion. Armaan needed her as much as she needed him. A spark ignited within her, a flicker of hope in the darkness that had consumed her for so long. She had to fight. Not just for herself, but for him, for their love. A vow formed in her heart, a silent promise to defy her limitations, to push through the pain and despair. She would rise again, no matter how hard it was. "Armaan," she whispered, her voice shaky but determined, "I'm not going anywhere, inshallah. I promise you. We'll get through this together." He looked at her, his tears mingling with a fragile smile. In that shared moment, amidst the remnants of fear and despair, they found strength in each other. Amena's journey to recovery would be long and arduous, but she was no longer afraid. With Armaan by her side, she knew she could face anything. Amena's road to recovery was arduous, marked by setbacks and triumphs. With each small victory, a flicker of movement in her fingers, the ability to sit upright without assistance, her spirit soared. Armaan was her unwavering rock, providing constant encouragement and support. She drew inspiration from Prophet Ayub, peace and blessings be upon him. Their love deepened as they navigated this new chapter together. The challenges they faced forged an unbreakable bond. Their home, once filled with quiet desperation, now echoed with the laughter of their children. Just as Allah, Ajwajal, healed Prophet Ayub and rewarded him for his unwavering patience, Amena and Armaan too were blessed after enduring their trials. For truly, with hardship comes ease. Though the scars of their journey remained, they carried them with grace and strength, their belief in Almighty Allah deepening with each step they took. To express their gratitude for the countless blessings bestowed upon them, Amena and Armaan decided to perform Umrah. Standing before the Kaaba, the center of their faith, their hearts overflowed with gratitude and love. The sacred air was thick with the weight of their prayers, and they felt a peace they had longed for, a serenity that could only come from complete submission to the will of Allah. Amena looked up at Armaan, her eyes reflecting the sacred light of the Kaaba. "I pray to Allah that you stay next to me like this in Jannah also." Armaan's heart swelled with emotion, and he gently squeezed her hand. "I also pray that I will hold your hand like this in Jannah," he whispered, his voice filled with devotion. In that sacred moment, as they stood together in the holiest of places, they knew their journey was far from over. The trials of this world had only strengthened their bond, and now they looked forward to an eternal life together, by Allah's grace. Their story didn't end at the Kaaba. It was only the beginning of their journey toward Jannah, where they would live forever, hand in hand, by the grace of Allah. With faith as their guide and love as their anchor, Amena and Armaan continued their journey, secure in the knowledge that their ultimate reunion awaited them in the gardens of paradise. The end. The end.